the studio.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Firstly, Professor, when was the first World Environment Day observed? Can you say something on that?
Sure. I'd like to take you back a little, to the history behind World Environment Day.
Okay.
Way back in 1972, there was a United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. It was held in Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay.
And it was on this conference where the issue of environment and human, they were discussed as a major critical issue.
Yes.
At this conference in 1972, it led to the creation of the United Nations Environment Programme. And since then, since 1972, the UNEP took it upon itself to organize World Environment Day on every 5th of June, and they've been doing that since the year 1974. So the first World Environment Day was observed on the 5th of June 1974 on the theme Only One Earth.
Which means that even the United Nations also recognize that we need to protect and to preserve the environment.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
The UNEP was set up mainly to address, issues linking human and environment.
Okay.
So that is why they've marked this day as World Environment Day.
That is a very helpful answer. Thank you for that. Moving on, what is the theme selected for this year World Environment Day?
Themes for World Environment Day, as I've told you, started with Only One Earth in 1974. And after that, in the following year, several themes such as water resources, biodiversity, air pollution, then we have plastic pollution, they've all been adopted. This year's World Environment Day, 2024, the theme has aptly been chosen as land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience.
Okay, based on the theme, what you have just said, would you like to explain it a little bit for our listener to understand what the theme means?
The theme land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience is, first of all, in par with the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration,
Okay.
which have been marked from 2021 to 2030. And as we all know, land is one of those components of the biosphere which is sometimes often neglected or ignored, you can say.
Right. Yes, that.
However, if you look at land sustains life on Earth.
Yes.
And one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals given by the United Nations is on land. They've named it as Life on Land, which is goal number 15.
Okay.
So if you look at land, according to the UN, more than 2 billion hectares of the world's land is degraded. And this has affected around 3.2 billion people. So adding to that, 55 million people are directly affected by droughts annually,
Yes.
as you have seen in the
Yes.
case of our country, India. And therefore, if this situation or if this condition of land degradation is not checked, is
And
not
if it's
combated,
continue,
if it remains unchecked, it could reduce global food productivity, it could lead to food insecurity, and it could
Right.
also lead to a rise in food prices.
Yes.
So this has also been given by the UN that global food productivity will decrease by 12%, and food prices will soar by up to about 30% by the year 2040. That is why we need to address land as a environmental issue, a global challenge.
As you have said, what I've understand is that this is a major challenge we're facing now, because every year we are losing soil.
Yes, you're right. We're losing soil.
By
the top fertile soil.
Yes, the fertile soil we are losing every year, and that is the worst part, because the fertility of the soil is destroyed.
You're right.
And the acidity soil remains, which is very harmful for us.
You're right.
Now, moving forward, why land?
As I've already explained, land sustains life on Earth. Without land, we'll not be able to grow our food. Without fertile land, we cannot do anything on that land.
Right.
It becomes a wasteland. Say, for instance, if you look at an area where mining is occurring, the land after mining becomes a wasteland. Unless we reclaim it, that land has no potential use anymore.
Rightly said. What is land degradation? What are the causes of land degradation? Can you say something on this?
Well, if we talk about land degradation, there are different forms of land degradation. For instance, if we talk about land degradation in the form of loss of fertile soil,
Yes.
like you've mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
then it could be soil contamination through the excessive use of agrochemicals such as pesticides and fertilizers.
Yes.
Could also include soil salinization or soil acidification. And then we have abandoned lands, We have desert-like conditions which will ultimately lead to desertification. So all this includes land degradation. And the
causes?
Yeah, the main causes of land degradation is, of course, there are natural causes to it, but we're more concerned with the human factors leading to land degradation. So I would like to elaborate a little bit here. With increasing human population,
yes,
more pressure is exerted on the land. We need more land for agriculture. We need more land for habitation. We need more land for, for expanding our developmental activities, for setting up our industries.
Right.
Or, for other developmental activities to meet our human needs.
Yes.
So therefore, with this human population, more and more land is being degraded over time. But the main causes would include deforestation, overgrazing, unsustainable agricultural practices like over-tilling of the land, over-application of these agrochemicals. And then it could also be because of urbanization, people moving from the rural areas to the urban areas. And yes, of course, industrial pollution, water pollution.
Does this shifting cultivation also contribute to?
That's a little difficult to explain, because there are some school of thought which says that shifting cultivation is good for the soil, and there's another school of thought which says that shifting cultivation is bad for the soil.
So we can say it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's sort of 50-50. Those who practice shifting cultivation say that shifting cultivation makes the soil fertile.
Okay.
And we could afford it while we had enough land to move from one place to another.
Yes.
But nowadays, because of the shortage of land, if we keep moving, by the time that area has been reclaimed, we would be out of land. So I really can't justify whether shifting cultivation is good or not.
One more question, like burning of forests. Does that also affect soil?
Absolutely. Forest fires, if it occurs naturally, it's fine. But if it is human induced, then all the fertile soil, gets spoiled, and then all the important microorganisms which add to the soil fertility are killed in the forest fire.
Okay, that's very informative. Moving on, how is land degradation different from desertification?
Well, land degradation encompasses all forms of land deterioration.
Right.
Like I've mentioned earlier, land degradation is a broad term which includes soil salinization, soil acidification, soil erosion, loss of topsoil, all of that. However, if we look at desertification, it is more specific. It is part of land degradation. Desertification specifically refers to the degradation of land in arid areas, in semi-arid areas, leading to desert-like conditions. So turning a fertile land into
a desert.
Into a desert, yes.
It just came to my thought, like in particular Meghalaya, do we have any danger maybe in the coming years of becoming a desert?
I wouldn't say that it would become a desert as such, but yes, we are losing land. If you look at areas in Sora, if you look at areas here and there where there is mining of limestone, where there is mining of coal, the land has been completely destroyed. The trees have completely been chopped off.
Yes.
So yes, we are degrading our land through these activities, and then sometimes due to unsustainable agricultural practices also, land is being lost. Soil is being washed away due to heavy rains which have been occurring in the past few days as well. So we're losing out on this fertile land, on this good soil that we require for our agriculture.
So there's like talking about becoming a desert maybe after a few decades of years, there's no chance.
I think if we take the right approach, like go for afforestation, go for reforestation, we can avoid that problem.
Otherwise that stage may come.
Yeah, it may come, for all you know. You never know. Look at Sora, how dry it is, right? Because of all the mining that is going on, and because of the landform, the topography, the water just washing down all the soil, eroding all the soil. So
rightly said, and I hope our listeners would understand that and would take more responsibility in protecting and being aware that we need to protect our environment, because this is the only planet we have where it supports life.
True. There is no planet B, This is the only
There's
planet.
no plan B, so to say.
Yeah. There's no plan B, there's no planet B, so yes. You have to take care.
Okay, moving on. So, how does land degradation affect biodiversity and ecosystem?
See, ecosystem is on land.
On land.
If we talk about terrestrial ecosystem, of course. So if we lose land, like for instance, if we lose a forest, which is home to many animals and plants, that means we're losing out on biodiversity. So land degradation reduces habitat of plants and animals, both in terms of quality as well as availability, quality, thereby leading to a direct loss of biodiversity. If we continue to cut down trees, there'll be no more habitats for the plants and the animals and the birds.
Yes.
So therefore, land degradation, it does disrupt ecosystems and it affects species survival, and not only that, it also reduces what we call these ecosystem services.
Right.
Ecosystem services such as water regulation or soil fertility or carbon sequestration, all these.
Temperature regulation.
Yes, temperature regulation, you're right.
Yes. What are the socio-economic impacts of land degradation on agriculture and food security? Can you elaborate on this?
Without land, there'd be no agriculture. So land is very crucial to agriculture, right?
Right.
Therefore, land degradation, I believe, has a direct impact on agriculture. These rural communities, our farmers, are dependent on agriculture. So they will suffer from, I would say, reduced productivity.
Right.
Because of the land degradation, there would be a reduced productivity, how much they can produce on their farmlands.
Right.
And this will have a direct impact on their income.
Right.
So ultimately, it will lead to another problem, which maybe is poverty and also food insecurity.
Right.
Because less production, less food production, so therefore
less income and then high price.
Yes, soaring prices of food. As we have seen in India, prices are soaring every day. Right? So yes, there's also a study done in 2023 where they've reported that land degradation results in losses in agricultural productivity, which amounts to about 3,654 per hectare. So that's a lot. Quite a lot per hectare. So if we have a huge farmland, that means it can go up to tens of thousands of rupees, right?
This is like quite a sad thing to hear.
It's an alarming issue, right?
Yes.
So that needs to be addressed also.
Yes. What is land ecosystem restoration?
To restore, that means to make it to its original condition, so to say, right? So in simple words, the process of reviving these spaces or these lands is called land restoration. Or we can define it as the ecological process to restore a natural and safe landscape where it is conducive for plants and animals as well as humans to survive.
So like you said, these wasteland, so can they be rejuvenated again?
Yes, we have something called wasteland reclamation for that. When I say wasteland reclamation, it could be through sustainably managing that land through afforestation or reforestation, planting more trees. Cleaning up the land. This way we can reverse that wasteland into a productive land.
What are the effective strategies for preventing land degradations?
There are many ways in which we can, prevent land degradation or restore our lands. It could be through sustainable land management practices.
Okay.
We can go for afforestation, we can go for reforestation, we can go for social forestry, or we can check, overgrazing, not allowing too many cattle and goats and so on and so forth to graze on the land. Or maybe we can adopt soil conservation techniques like contour farming, terrace farming, mulching, or maybe we can use cover crops like grasses, or even restoring watersheds, or go for an integrated approach of water management like rainwater harvesting, recharge of groundwater. There are so many ways in which we can restore the degraded lands. But these are just some of the strategies or examples which can easily be adopted.
Can you provide example of successful land restoration project from around the world and in particular Meghalaya?
One very simple example that we noticed when we went for our fieldwork in Maupat, where the community themselves, they took up a watershed program and they restored the entire barren land into a very productive land where they're making a good income, and this barren land has been converted into an agricultural land at the same time where they're growing all these vegetables which they later on sell it in the market.
Okay.
And then they have a water pond, where they collect rainwater.
Rain harvesting.
Yeah, rainwater harvesting. And they also have dug up these trenches
Okay.
to facilitate the infiltration of rainwater into
the ground.
aquifers below, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that is one success story which we have seen right here in our own state, Meghalaya.
And around the world?
Before I move to the world, I would like to mention something in India.
Okay.
In India, there's an interesting example of how communities and corporate sector have worked together
Okay.
to restore an abandoned limestone quarry.
That's nice.
Yeah, this happened in South India.
Okay.
So what they did was the company that was digging up the limestone, they teamed together with a group and they transformed that abandoned limestone quarry into a national park.
That's,
so that's
very nice.
interesting.
Yeah, and interesting.
They started the project in 2019 in
Okay.
the month of October, I believe. And as of 2023, they've restored more than 200 acres of land.
That's
so
a
that's
very
a big
good
deal,
news.
right?
Yes.
It is a big deal. So if they can do it, why not the others? Why
Yeah.
not us?
If one can, then why not all?
Yeah, why not all? It's all about commitment. It's
Yes.
all about wanting to do something for the environment.
It's not just one thinking, it should be everyone thoughts coming
Should involve,
together
yes.
to build a better environment.
You're right.
Moving forward, any international agreement and conventions that address land degradation and desertification?
One of the most important, I would say, international agreement. In fact, it is the only international agreement
Okay.
to address land degradation and desertification, and that is the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. This was established in the year 1994. It is the only convention, or I would say a treaty, set up to address desertification, the effects of drought, and how to mitigate the impact of land degradation. There are 197 countries that are signatory to this convention. So they've come together to commit, protect, and restore the wasteland or the degraded lands all around the world.
So how far have they been successful in this?
They have been successful because, as we've seen in Africa, there is an initiative called the Great Green Wall Initiative.
Okay.
So this is also part of the UNCCD, part of the
Agreement.
convention, part of the agreement. So this Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa, they started as a project
Okay.
for tree plantation. So it was just the tree planting drive initially.
Okay.
And then later it turned out into a very comprehensive rural development initiative
Okay.
across 11 countries. So far, 18 million hectares of degraded land have been restored.
Like
That's quite a
good.
lot, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's 18 million hectares. So I think the UNCCD have been able to mobilize people to work on restoring our degraded lands. And in fact, this Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa, has been selected as one of the 10 World Restoration Flagships, which is part of that UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration that I mentioned earlier, 2021 to 2030.
That's such a success
achievement,
and
yes.
an achievement.
Yes,
like
an achievement
we
for
can
them.
do something. Yes,
From a
And
small
from
tree
a-
plantation
yes.
drive, it moved on to to being something so big
Big.
that it got recognized by the UN itself.
So, do you think that, in particular, we in Meghalaya, can we also take the example of what you have said in Africa and make it work here?
I believe anything can be done.
We
Anything
just
can be
need the
achieved.
determination.
Yeah, we just need the determination, we need the commitment, we need to mobilize people. But first of all, I think we need to create awareness. We need to make people realize that there is a problem and that we need to find a solution.
Because it's very high time, because now people cutting off trees, we are losing forests,
Yes.
we are losing the animals, the birds, and so on and so forth. So we need to take steps to rejuvenate that forest again, to build up. Like saying cut one tree and then plant 10
trees.
Then how many years will that 10 trees
Trees.
will grow into
It'll
a...
take a long time. Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, so forests are dwindling, no doubt about that. The forest cover in the state is dwindling, but we can, play a proactive role by involving students,
Yes.
by involving institutions, and then by involving communities,
Yes,
who
yes,
live in the rural areas to go around planting trees. And then we can also turn our cities into green spaces,
Yeah, where there's space,
Yeah,
at least
wherever there is
plant
space, let's plant something.
Yes,
Let's plant a tree.
Yes.
All these native species which we can plant. I don't know if you've heard of the Miyawaki system of tree planting in Japan, where they convert all these urban spaces into small forested areas.
Okay.
So if Japan can do it, I think our state
Can do it. So we just need the resource. We just need to get the people aware that we can also do it, and we can also
Of course,
restore
we can
back real nature back.
we can go back to the golden days where Meghalaya was very clean and
Clean and the air is so
fresh.
rich. And so talking about that, we here in Meghalaya particularly, we do have these secret grove.
Sacred groves. Yes.
So according to you, does having these secret grove contributes to the environment to reduce pollution, reduce carbon dioxide, and improve water regulation in the temperature and groundwater?
Right. Sacred groves, these are special cases of forest in the sense that they are preserved by the community for religious beliefs, traditional beliefs. But yet they play a very important ecological role.
Yes.
Like you've mentioned, carbon dioxide, oxygen regulation, temperature regulation, and then, they act as watersheds.
Yes.
They provide a home to different kinds of species. In fact, there are several studies done by the researchers in Neho and all where they've stated that these sacred groves are home to many endemic species which are not found everywhere. Means they're confined to that space only. So these sacred groves not only are home to endemic species, but they are also home to some of the species which have gone extinct elsewhere.
Yes.
So they're still there.
If you look at the plants, there are some plants which have extinct,
Yes, which
but
have
in
gone
this
extinct,
grove
they
they
still
still
exist
exist.
in these
Yes,
sacred groves,
right.
right.
Like you said. So
Sacred groves are important.
indirectly, they do contribute to the
Of
environment.
course, they do a lot, in fact, because like I said, they have their ecological role, they have the socio-economic role as well. Some people go there to pray, go there for their
Health,
yeah,
go
for
there
health,
to get
to
fresh
relax.
air.
Yes. So there's aesthetic value, there's social value, there's ecological
Everything is
value.
included there.
Right.
Well said. Now moving forward, how can individuals and communities contribute to preventing and reversing land degradation and desertification?
Well, there are many things that we can do at the individual level. It starts from you, it starts from me, right?
Yes.
So as individuals, I think we can adopt sustainable practices such as reducing waste, first of all, conserving water.
Right.
At home, you can just close your tap while brushing. Don't use the shower, use a bucket and a mug.
Yes.
Those are simple ways of conserving water. Or maybe
After washing the vegetables.
yeah, we can reuse that water.
In the garden plant.
Yes, true, right. Then we can also go for planting trees, maybe purchasing local products instead of, buying all these branded products,
yes.
right, to support our local farmers. Then also we can be a conscious consumer,
Right.
reading the labels before we buy anything to see whether it has been made, in a sustainable manner or fashion or not.
And
Then,
the main thing also, like, please carry your own bag.
yes, carry your jute bags, don't use plastic bags, avoid the usage of single-use plastics.
Because they contribute to the degradation and
Of course, look at the waste around us. It's all
is
plastics.
so bad.
Very, very bad. You go
And,
to Gulfling, you go to Shillong Peak, any of these tourist spots, you'll find plastics everywhere.
I think there should be steps taken by these locality people that it is a tourist place, but at the same time the locality should have a lookout that people coming from outside, they should make them aware that at the end of the day, please clean, because this is the main causes that affect the lands, affect the environment, and ultimately affects the human beings. Apart from all this, what we have just discussed and we talk about, in my mind, like the 5th of June is a day where we all celebrate it as a World Environment Day. But I feel that it should not be just the 5th of June. It should be the whole year, 365 days that we should celebrate World Environment Day. Do you agree with that, and do you have something to add on it?
Yes, I do agree that we should not only care about our environment only on the 5th of June every year, but this day has been marked or has been observed every year on the 5th of June, just as a reminder that it is our collective duty to care for our environment. So thereby making a positive impact on, on sustainable lifestyles or practices in our daily lives. However, yes, we should take steps on a daily basis on how to care for our environment.
Bit by
What
bit,
we
every
eat,
day.
what we throw away, how we recycle our stuff, the clothes that we wear, avoid consumerism. Why have 10 bags when we can survive with one or two, right? So this consumeristic lifestyle needs to be changed. Yes, that way we can reduce the waste. So yeah, we can observe World Environment Day on a daily basis. We just need to be aware, we need to be conscious,
And take a responsibility bit by bit that I should do something every day to help my environment.
You're right.
Not only for me or for you,
Each one of
but
us for that matter.
for our land and for our future.
True. Because ultimately we have to leave this earth one day, but the earth will always be there for the future generations. So
It'll go
we
on.
Can't be, we can't be selfish that
Yes,
way, right?
just only for me, but we should think about the
Future generations.
Yes. Lastly, from your point of view, as a message, what would you like to convey to our listener on this day, the World Environment Day?
So on the occasion of World Environment Day 2024, I would just like to appeal to each and everyone out there to commit to making the world a better place.
Right.
And we can do that by adopting a more sustainable lifestyle.
Reducing wastage.
Yes, reducing wastage. Avoid the single-use plastics. Help spread the message that we need to care about our environment, and go ahead and plant trees whenever you can. But of course, planting trees also shouldn't stop there. We should ensure that
the trees grows. Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point,
Just plant there and just leave
planting
it like
trees
that.
and
No.
leaving them there, there's no
Point.
Yeah. So what we do in our institution, in our college, we have something called adopt a tree.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you plant a tree, you have to adopt that tree. You have to care for it. Yeah, you have to make sure that it grows. So that is what we can do. Instead of just planting trees, let's commit to adopt trees.
Adopt a tree, yes. Like wherever you find a place, please plant a tree and make sure that you adopt that tree and make sure that plant one day grows into a tree.
Yeah, into a big tree, yeah.
That's a good message, and I hope our listeners would really understand what you have said and take it into themselves to make sure that they also do the same.
Yes, I hope so too.
Well said, Professor Iasylloklang Rynjah. And what I understand that it is a high time for us and each and every one of us to join hands and to come together and take a responsibility in protecting and preserving our environment. And also not only the 5th of June that we should celebrate as World Environment Day, but the whole year we should take in ourselves the responsibility that we should celebrate World Environment Day. We should act and we should contribute to preserve our environment for our land and for our future. It was a pleasure talking with you, Professor Iasylloklang. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
You were listening to an interview with Assistant Professor Smt.Iasylloklang Rynjah, Department of Environmental Science, St.Edmunds College, Shillong, on the occasion of World Environment Day. This program came to you from the station of